whole lifetime ago. I don't even remember, like...
I know, isn't it
crazy? Like, I remember it, but it's like, did it really happen? Oh, see, the host broke its rule.
Turn my headphones up. Louder.
What episode we got?
This is 25.
Okay, episode 25. We have my older sister and producer interrupting my video. My oldest sister, Samina Yasmin Khan. Hi, Samina.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Of course. It's my pleasure.
We have a little routine. If you've been watching or listening, we have sponsors, Congo Subs, obviously. Benjamin Blue Water. That's actually a semi-sponsor as well. No Days Off. We got the W segment. You have a lot of dubs in your life. A lot of people like to focus on negatives, but you have a lot of dubs, and we're going to talk about a lot of the negatives and the dubs. This may be heartfelt. This may be teary-eyed. I know my sister, so we're about to find out what happens. And
very teary-eyed.
We got Dwight Manfredi, okay? And then, the Pantalones tequila. So we tape it off the tequila shot.
Well, can I intervene on the tequila shot?
Go ahead. Hit it. Talk to me.
I actually brought you...
Hit it with the switcheroo.
Don Fulano. One of my faves.
Very nice.
And hopefully you can get the cap off of that one. So there you go. You have to twist there.
Isn't this a special thing? Where at?
Yeah. I would just move your finger through and then pop it open. I wanted to have the full effect of you opening it.
Yeah. What a great idea. I wasn't even thinking about that. I'll pull it up later.
Well, there you go. Some Fulano.
Man, we're stacking them up. And I get to experience this with you. So you asked me earlier about, is this therapy to me? I said, I don't know what it brings me, but it brings me moments like this that I'll forever remember.
Well, good.
You give me a bottle of tequila on my show that's unknown right now, but it's going to become known. And what do we do the top? Okay. I'm going to put this right here so I don't break anything, and then we'll organize it.
You're going to need a bigger shelf.
Bigger shelf. Samina, I love you already.
Love you more.
Daily
Cheers.
Dose, Samina Khan. I'm about to tip it off. Aye.
It's good.
Yeah. Comes down
I usually sip on that Reposado. Wow. It's actually very smooth in a shot.
That is smooth. Okay, so Samina is the oldest sister. There's 6 of us in our family, if you've been following and listening. And she is like the second mother as well. She takes care of all of us, and she has her own life on top of our life, and then some other parts of her life. But she is a cancer survivor. She is a motivator. She inspires me and all of us, and her powerful spirit. Not only has she survived cancer, she changes and helps a lot of people's lives. She is a PA in Denver. I'll let you know how she gets her obstacles through all that. But I guess, Samina, let's talk about growing up as the big sister to this whole Congo clan now, and what it was like in Wyoming. And then we can kind of get into your cancer situation, and then how your obstacles were to get through that, and what ultimately got you into your healthcare profession.
Okay. So, funny that you say the eldest. When I was in town and I came to Congo, I took the Uber to Congo, and I was talking to the Uber driver about life, and I said, yeah, I'm the eldest of 6, and he had said, wow, that's a lot of pressure. And I was like, no, that's not pressure. He goes, to be the eldest of that many people is a ton of pressure. I was like, I wouldn't see it that way at all.
Yeah, I don't know how she does it.
I don't. I mean, it's just, I don't see my life any differently because you guys are all such a big piece of it. I don't know. It's just, it was a big part of who I am, and that's part of my purpose, is to be your big sister. But growing up in Sheridan, I felt like, it's so funny because everyone says, how did it feel being a Middle Eastern or Muslim, growing up in and thankfully we grew up in a town that really welcomed us and loved us, and our grandfathers and grandmothers set this precedence for us to be known, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think anything differently. And I think that in even this day and age, as like a professional healthcare worker who is a woman of diversity, I just think I had to work just as hard as everyone else to get here. And I should not have an advantage because of my diversity. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as, we're all our own individual, unique beings. In retrospect, growing up in Sheridan was the best thing that could have happened to any of us. It formed our core values, our morals, the sense of like family, even with community of friends, reminded us that you can have this small knit community that you grow up with that's your extended family. Yes, there were limitations in regard to you weren't exposed to much culture, diversity, especially being diverse. Our parents gave us an opportunity to travel, so we did go back to Pakistan growing up, which was really nice because we got to see essentially where our roots, quote unquote, came from and what we came from. And I think that's important for pretty much any American to really understand where your family immigrated from, because we all immigrated from somewhere. That's how this country became the state of freedom and like requiring a citizenship to earn your own livelihood here. I would say being the eldest, as much as it has its challenges, and you get to mess up the most, and everyone gets to learn about what you did that they don't want to do, even though if they don't want to directly tell you, hey, I did not like that you went to school that long and you acquired some student debt, so I prefer to go this way. Or I don't want to be in school as long as you were, or I don't want to do those things. And I think it's really cool how you guys all have created your own space and your own energy and your own little universe, which is pretty amazing. And I'm just so grateful that I've been able to be a part of the ride.
Yeah.
And each one of you kids are so uniquely created and designed in your own way, but all of us are a lot of type A OCD personalities that all come from growing up in Sheridan, cleaning motel rooms our whole life. So
yeah, I think that's everything that helped shaped and molded us. Is we were looking at that, and on this back side of the wall is like all this stuff from high school in Wyoming, and it's just like that time it happened, but then you look at it as like, did it really happen? It's so like far away, but it's something that it's home, and it's like that's what created us. But here we are living this life, in a whole different realm, but we have those same morals and ethics. When was it?
It did create us. And I mean, we talk about diversity and adversity, and I would say like growing up in Sheridan, the one setback for me was my diagnosis with cancer at 14, being in a small town where you didn't have very many medical resources at that time. It was 1996. And the idea of being a girl in 8th grade who suddenly gets this lump in her neck and can't figure out where it's from. When I got done with basketball, I told Mommy and Daddy, I was like, I think I have cancer. There's this lump in my neck.
You said that?
Yeah.
And then at that time too, when you were younger, you were interested in being a doctor.
Oh my gosh!
Young, right?
Yeah. When Uncle Nasad, Uncle Nasad, our uncle who had one arm, we'd go back to Pakistan growing up. I remember wanting to fix his arm.
Okay.
Because I thought, I could fix your arm, and I was the basically like Kano, the 2-year-old who did not stop talking, ran around and thought I could do everything, which that's the power of being young. You're invincible, right? But I've always wanted to practice medicine. I've always had the burning desire to be able to help other people feel better, and heal them in some capacity, whatever that would have looked like at that point. So, yeah, I said I had cancer. And we didn't have any sort of internet then. There was no dial-up even in 1996 from what I'm aware of, or we didn't have the resource for that. But I'm pretty sure there wasn't. And interestingly enough, and Daddy had a medical encyclopedia because Daddy was always into medicine too. And Ami said, no, it's from your strep throat. You had, and I thought it was so, it's, some parents don't know that. And I was like, Ami, how does Ami know that? And I did have strep throat the week before. And I was like, we went to the pediatrician. I told the pediatrician, I have cancer. And so the pediatrician had told me, and I will never forget this, and that's why I told myself, if I ever become a doctor or if I'm ever in healthcare, I will never tell anyone a statistic that he told me. And he had said, "You are not. I'm 99.9% sure this is not cancer." Yeah. And that can happen in rural medicine. That can happen in like a city. So I went to the library and I checked out books and I started looking up neck cancer. I came up with my own differential diagnosis of what I thought I had. And I was playing basketball at the time and I was coughing up blood on the basketball court. I was having every symptom that you could have of like a mass growing in your body. I had night sweats, some unintentional weight loss, a persistent cough. And then in the end, Mommy and Daddy had said, we have to do something. So they got a chest x-ray, some labs, and within 24 hours, I was at Children's Hospital in Denver. Yeah. So that added to being different, not only in a small community, in a high school, but in a place where your resources are so limited, and you have to you become this awkward person who's going back and forth, from school to chemo to this, and I was trying to play basketball when I was getting chemo, and it just at the end didn't work.
Was there any point in that time like you're like, I'm not gonna make it, or like what kept you moving? What kept you positive? What kept you to keep like going and all that whole process?
I just remember the day that they called and Ami had said, you have a mass in your chest, and I had no clue. I was oblivious. I was 14. And I was like, what is a mass? And she's like, you have a tumor in your chest and in your neck. And we were eating dinner and you guys were all sitting at the table, and I for some reason rallied, and then I stayed in Mommy and Daddy's room that night because I was scared. Mm-hmm. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and of course my vanity, all I thought was, oh my gosh, kids with cancer lose their hair. That's all I thought about was my hair. I didn't think about anything else until I got to the hospital. And that's when I met Dr. Silliman, Chris, who's now basically my second dad. And he has a stutter from scarlet fever. And I thought, oh my God, who is this guy? He doesn't talk right. And his fellow was like this young person. And I was lost. And it was a lot for me to process because I saw all these sick kids and it was reality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You bring up Dr. Silliman. Isn't it, we always say, are things meant to happen? Mm-hmm. Like, why did the cancer happen? Or why did like something like this happen to us and our family? But as weird as it sounds, but don't you think that you got cancer to meet Dr. Silliman, for that man to be in your life? Like, that negative had to happen to meet that man to create a bond and fathership almost.
I mean, 100%. Now, like, his wife is my biggest mentor, biggest fan, second mom. His kids are, my siblings now. But I never thought at that point the man that God brought into my life to save my life would be the man that's like, okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Like the big rock in my life. But yeah. Mm-hmm. And, like, I'm going to say this now. I had to grow up really fast when I was sick.
Yep.
And Daddy could only, like, Ami was running the business while Daddy was bringing me. And Daddy didn't know how to read and write as well as I did as a 14-year-old. And you would never think, like, I would have to also step up and do all of that,
See, those are things I didn't even know about. That's good. Keep
yeah,
going.
so, like, when I got to the hospital, I had to fill out my own medical history. I had to do all of the paperwork. Ami was in the background, like, helping figure out billing and logistics. And, Ami and Daddy, like, dropped insurance a week before I had cancer because they were, had their own business. And they were trying to find a cheaper insurance company. And so there was that setback. And that's why I'm a big believer in, like, paying it forward in any way possible, because people who give back to these hospitals, these organizations, allow people like me to evolve. And then I get to pay it forward, which is really awesome. Mm-hmm. But the Children's Hospital of Colorado had many resources. They got me set up with, they got me and Daddy and everyone set up with like an insurance research really fast for everyone, which was really nice, and that all benefited us. I just had to grow up really fast with all of you guys. Like, I did not want anyone to see that I was sick. I did not want Emmy to see me miserable. I did not want Daddy to see me like that. But, I mean, I did it. Even when I had chemo, I refused to ever lay down. I took that IV pull around, and I went to go help the nurses. I did my homework. I would, like, keep, that's when before you could, like, I had to actually keep a file of all my white cell counts, and I calculated my SED rate on my own. I was an ultimate nerd.
That's so cool.
So I kept a binder or journal of all that.
Wow. So when you were finally getting through it and you were getting healthy, at that point you knew you were just going to be a doctor then?
Well, I mean, I knew that I wanted to practice medicine. I knew that I wanted to have an impact on people's lives, in some capacity, whatever that looked like. I did know that I needed to be strong because I did not want you kids, like literally you guys were babies, to see me sick. And then when I started to finally, because I thought I wasn't going to lose my hair. And then when I lost that last piece of hair and I woke up the morning, it was on the pillow, I bawled my eyes out. And then, it was during, I tried to go to school, and then I had to leave school, and then we had summer break, and me and Daddy went to go tell the principal, like, hey, she's going to need to wear a baseball cap in school. She's not comfortable wearing her bald head. She has a little wig. And that's when the principal, I won't say his name, specifically asked me to take off my hat the first day after I just basically was fighting for my life and went back to school. And I bawled my eyes out, went to one of the teachers' English class, Miss Seeds, and that's when a lot of the teachers rallied and helped me. And it was hard, like, as an adolescent who's supposed to be 14, living her life, the boys were scared of me because it looked like I basically was a teenage mutant ninja turtle. Mutation, teenage.
that was like an old lady doctor joke she just gave.
It's like a dad joke, but not.
Yeah.
I always joke, I'm a teenage mutant ninja turtle when I was in school.
I didn't get it until after she said it. I'm like, oh, she explained it to me because it went over my head, but it came back.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So that's what I was. And when in those moments, all you do is fight. You just fight because you want to have your life and you want to have vision. And you want to try to be as normal as you can, but you can't at the same time. Like, I was trying to be a teenager, and it's so funny because people talk about how, like, some teenage girls are just wild and, they have their attitude and what have you. And I was trying to stay above water. And, you experiment with, this is like a real life, like drugs, alcohol, sex, all of that happens in high school. Whereas I was the girl that's like, no, my body was just poisoned for months and months and months to save my life. You think I want to go hang out with you and party? No, thank you. So that's when that's why I always say I'm an old soul with a young spirit, because I'm basically a 15-year-old who's this mature, 43-year-old always. I'm like wanting to always live my life and so much fun. But yes, that's where I just grew up really fast, and that did set me apart in high school. It did set me apart in the Sheridan. I did gravitate towards the older adults, but I think that we all did that as cons. Like, we just gravitated towards mentors and older figures because we wanted to aspire to be something of our own version of excellent. And so, that's the story of high school.
A lot of dubs in that segment. When you're talking about that stuff, do you, in your head, think about, wow, I did it?
I mean, I still do.
I'm so proud of myself. Like, look, I beat cancer. I did this. I was a leader. I was a big sister. And you said you were always positive. And I was thinking about the pictures I've seen you that Ami has of when you didn't have your hair. Mm-hmm. You were never you never looked down in those pictures either. You still kind of always were smiling. Yeah. I know it's just a picture, but in those moments, I never seen you weak. So it's crazy that you say it because you're saying it. Yeah. And it's like, I look at the pictures like, wow, she never was weak. We've all had some pictures like when we're down or something, like with Sathaja's ACL or something, but you were a warrior. And I think that warrior spirit, I think a lot of it, it's kind of come from obviously mommy and daddy, but then you led that thing.
I feel like kids are resilient. You know, you look at adults with cancer who have kids, it's not that I have more empathy for them, but that's a whole different animal there. And I felt like I needed to step it up and be a great example to you guys. The other resource that I had was Chris, Dr. Zilliman, like plugged me into resources because I was one of the first kids in a small town with the childhood cancer. Now, unfortunately, childhood cancer is more common. There's so many kids that have it, and there's resources. But that's when I had the pleasure of going to Andrea Yeager's camp, the Little Star Foundation. Andrea Yeager won. She was one of the top tennis players at age 14 in the 80s. She was like 16th ranked in the world. And when she was 14, 15, 16, going to play in these tennis tournaments, there was something about her that wanted to go when she was in Wimbledon, and she was going to the oncology unit, meeting these young kids who had childhood, like terminal illnesses. She decided to take her winnings from all these tennis tournaments and create her own foundation. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of when she started doing it. And that's when we went to Aspen, and we stayed at that little Noel hotel, and Ted Forrester donated a bunch of land, and I got to be a part of the groundbreaking ceremony where they built this huge ranch for kids. And I told Andrea when I was sick, I said to her, when I get better, I want to come back and I want to be a counselor here. And she's like, well, Samina, we don't have like camp counselors. Like they only had the nurses, and they had like actual counselors that were trained professionals, like psychologists. And I go, well, I think that we should create that. I think that I should be the first one who comes back and gets to be a camp counselor as a cancer survivor. I want these young kids to know that they can survive and they can get over this, and there's a great life. And I was only 16 at the time. And that's when, after I finally got my remission, she invited me back. And her and I have the greatest connection ever. And she had said to me, she still says it when she calls me, like, there's just this energy about you. So, that's God. That's so cool. I mean, that was an opportunity where it let me to meet so many, I guess, like celebrities, right? Kevin Costner that man did so much for like these kids. Like I got to meet him, and he has a ranch up in Aspen, and he would put fish in the lake so we could all catch fish. Like even Mariah Carey would come. I met David Robinson, and I was freaking out because I was this diehard basketball fan, and we got to dinner one day, and she knew that I was a basketball fan, and David Robinson and Will Perdue are sitting at our dinner, and I was screaming because I was so excited to meet them. And it's just, people, I'm obviously not an athlete who has reached this level of success, but when they say, like looking back on it, when they are able to give back, like with Demarius, when I met Demarius and we were talking, and I said, I really appreciate that you do this for young kids who struggle, because I was one of those kids.
Okay.
And when I got to meet like all these people, it brings you light and it brings you hope. So all these cool, like these athletes that you train and these people that have an impact that get to go back and do it for people, it means a lot to these little kids because it gives them like a desire to want to keep living. And I should have brought a tissue. For those who don't have tissues.
I got you.
Oh.
2 seconds.
I was not supposed to cry, Thaj.
Go back down.
Did I get it?
You're going to have to. Priscilla! Yeah. We're going to need a makeup check.
Priscilla's going to kill me. Don't worry, Priscilla. I'll take very good care of you as your bridesmaid.
All right, we're good. Okay, Jaeger.
Thanks for the tissue.
We ended on what did we just end on?
We were talking about athletes.
Oh yeah, giving back. Mm-hmm. And then we started crying.
Yeah.
So ultimately,
just people position of power, right? Influence people that I don't want. As a person who survived cancer, who looked up to superheroes, those kind of things, it's perfect. That fuels you.
That you say that cool circle of life moment. So Lance Armstrong,
Oh yeah.
super circle of life. Lance Armstrong, she actually
I was obsessed.
obsessed with him.
I really got into road biking.
That was like your therapy when you were cancer free.
I read his book like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we loved it too. Live Strong was huge. Nike, that was like a cool era of Nike. And long story short, I had the opportunity to train him when I was at the Post Oak Hotel. And he was just a solid dude. Like, he liked what we were doing, loved how we trained, and talking about the potential gym. And I told her, she was freaking out. And I mentioned to him about Samina, how she's a cancer survivor. And he left you, I got you a voicemail, or did he send you something?
He left me a video message. For my 25-year cancer. So I celebrate my cancer remission. I mean, birthdays are great. However, the cancer remission is like just this regeneration of life and the gift of life. And to me, it's so important to celebrate that. And when he sent that video for my 25-year.
Hey, Samina, Lance Armstrong here. Got a message the other day from your brother, Dose, who, by the way, I think is one of the biggest badasses I know. Told me you have your 24-year cancerversary. I think I missed it by a couple days, so I'm super sorry. And what? You got me by... No, I think we share the same. This will be my 24th as well. How about that? That's sick. Anyways, thinking about you. Glad you're hanging in there. Glad you're still with us. I'm glad I'm still with us, too. All right, girl. Samina strong.
I was like ecstatic.
Yeah, that's so cool, because it's like, again, going back to the other episodes of manifestation, we're just kids from Wyoming that looked up to all these people. And here we are, somebody that got you through cancer is connected with me, and I was able to train him. And on one of your most important days, that person that got you through your situation is sending you a video.
I know. I sent it to Andrea because I was like, Andrea! You know, and they all, like, are running in the same circle, which is so amazing.
And he truly means it. Like, his...
Yeah, he was authentic.
Very powerful. So shout out to Lance, man. We appreciate you.
Lance Armstrong, I would love to personally meet you.
Yeah, he's still got to come to the gym. He's still got to make it happen. He says he's trying to get his way. So Lance, got to come to Houston. So Samina, you're a physician's assistant now in Denver.
Yep.
How long you've been doing that now?
11 years I've been practicing medicine.
And then all in Denver.
I've never left. I came to college there and then never left.
You love what you do?
You know, I love what I do. I was actually talking to Basha about this because Evan, my boyfriend, challenges me to, are you sure? Like, do you want to go into leadership? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I've always wanted to be, I wanted to be a doctor, right? And so that's where Dr. Silliman comes into play. Is I went to school with the intention that I was a pre-med major. I was going to be an MD. I thought I wanted to be like, MD, PhD, because Dr. Silliman is an MD, PhD. When I graduated from DU, I was indifferent. I just thought, do I want to be in school for this many years? Is there more out there for me? So he offered me a job in his lab, and because he did research on transfusion-related acute lung injury, so I started to get involved in clinical research. He allowed me the opportunity to work at the Children's Hospital of Colorado, where I ran a sickle cell study, published some articles, worked with PAs, worked with doctors, worked with PhDs, and I realized I don't want to be in med school. I don't want to go to, and as much as I love MDs and surgeons and everyone that followed that route, that was not for me. One, because I have the worst test anxiety, so going to school that long and taking that many tests was not going to work. I had to bulk up my resume big time, so I published a bunch of first author manuscripts on clinical stuff that's really important to medicine now, that is a whole conversation in itself, and applied to PA school again and again and again and again, and I got denied. I don't even know how many times. And that goes back to like this important part of your life where I was hustling. I had asked Chris, like, hey, do your kids need help with the nanny? So I was working as a nanny, I was working at Express and retail, and I was working at the lab, doing all these things just to stay above water so that I could pursue this route that I wanted to take. And PA school is, almost harder to get into med school sometimes because there's very few seats. And it's 4 years of med school and 2. We're trained underneath a medical model. We do everything physicians do. We're just supervised by a physician for things that require, more acuity of care, or I can't start a surgery, but I do everything essentially else outside of that. And you were there when I got denied from school, denied, and I had to go back and take a few classes to get my GP up just a little bit. I never gave up. Not once. And I never thought about giving up because I didn't see myself doing anything else. And when I finally got into, and Chris helped me get there. And when I finally got in, I met so many great people. My best friend, Sean, who's like my brother from another. You meet people like at certain points and they're just still there for you. Got into P school. That was tough. Had a tough relationship that I thought was going to be the one. That didn't work out. Everything just kind of works out like it's supposed to, even though when you're in that moment, it still doesn't. And my whole life has been a vision of that. And I got out of P school, graduated, had some serious setbacks after I graduated. It took a year to find a job. And in that time that it took a year to find a job, I was cleaning out garages. I was babysitting. I was cleaning out closets. Thankfully, I have a lot of friends who are, very fortunate and were able to just pay me. And I was probably in like a pretty low spot. Had a serious breakup. Thought, why did I put myself through all of this? I have all this student loan debt to put myself through school. I gotta pay for my house. I gotta pay for all of these things. What did I just do? What did I just do? And I had a few interviews because of people that I know. And I thought I wanted to go to hematology oncology. That's way too close to home. I did a clinical rotation there. I would basically cry every time I saw a kid with anything. So I wanted to work for Kaiser Permanente because I did a OBGYN rotation there. And so I figured out how to get a hold of the HR person. I don't know what I did. I researched it, found out the hiring person. I went to their office. And I had said, I know I'm a new graduate because new graduates are hard to hire. Can you please give me a shot? I wanted to do a specialty. I thought I wanted to do sports med. And she's like, well, we only have a primary care open. And, there's 20 applicants for that job. And I said, well, I'm going to do everything in my power that I can. So it's very important that when you meet people that you are kind, you are graceful, you make eye contact, you interact, you ask that preceptor or attending or person that you meet, you ask them questions. It's very important to get to know someone else versus talking about yourself, even though I do talk about myself a lot. I don't try to do that in those situations because it's important to know people in a position of power. And thankfully, I knew an OBGYN that knew people that could get me basically an interview. And I remember interviewing with 6 people in the room, 4 docs, the chief medical operator of the office. It was a lot. And a week later, I got the call and I got a job in primary care.
So she has resilience, people. The whole point of this story right now is she's never given up and she's never had the mentality of folding. When she had cancer, she still had. Would you say you were walking around when you were in
my IV pole with the chemo?
Walking around with an IV pole.
Putting stickers on things for the admin.
Each one of these moments, there's 2 directions you can take. You can go this way, you can go that way. Every time something happened, she continued to go this way. Positive mindset. And you said something earlier, you said doing what you were doing is the only thing you envisioned yourself doing.
100%.
So because of that vision, with all the no's that she got, that vision created that next yes finally. So it's that old picture of, that picture of the coal mining guy, and he's digging, and then he stops, and then the other guy over here, he doesn't stop, and there's that side of gold. Mm-hmm. You've never stopped.
No.
Never stopped. And I think it's cool in this how life works out. You're helping people every day.
Yeah,
you're saving lives every day when your life could have been taken from you, but somebody else came in and saved your life. So now you're giving back every day.
So many people helped save my life. And first and foremost, my faith and belief in God was really powerful in that moment. But even like when you think you find your dream job, setbacks happen. I always tell people, anything can be taken away from you in a matter of, you can get into a car accident, you could get diagnosed with something, anything can happen. And that's when I remember Kaiser decided to reorganize their physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and they were going to terminate all of us. And I work, in a union that protects me, and I never was like, I'm not a union, I don't even know what this is. Like, what does this mean? And that's the one instance where it protected me. And I remember I came and I was in Houston and I told you guys, I was like, you guys, I have something to tell you. Everybody was in town. It's perspective, right? And I'm like, well, they're going to reorganize. I'm going to be on a year contract and I might lose my job. And I remember Sathaj like sighed and you sighed and I was like, what is it? And you guys all almost at the same time said, we thought you got diagnosed with cancer again. And I was like, oh my gosh, holy crap, that is perspective. And then COVID happened. And then I was like basically running around to different clinics, trying to practice in primary care clinics for Kaiser. And I said, they shut everything down. So everything was telehealth. And there was positions we have urgent care, which is basically a satellite ER that doesn't get advertised in that way. And I said, put me in the front line because I had some experience. Because when I started my new job as a PA, I wanted to be able to do trauma. I wanted to be able to do the stuff that certain people can't do in primary care clinics. So I'd go pick up shifts on weekends so that I could get better at what I do. And I was like, I'm so single, I don't have a plant. I'll go out there. Like, I'm okay risking my life. Like, I can do this. And I was fortunate enough to be on the front line. And I met a lot of cool people, a lot of emergency medicine physicians that rallied, wrote bunches of letters to the board, and I kept my job. They created a position where I got to float at different urgent care satellite ERs. Oh. And that's what I do now. And I love it. And it's better for me than primary care was.
She never quits, baby. She never quits.
And yeah.
So this next subject to close out with may be sensitive.
Yeah.
She's gonna need maybe a handful of tissues on this one. So I want to first begin, as I told you, you're a warrior and you have a never quit spirit. Mm-hmm. And that has transitioned all of us to have that same mentality. Recently you've had, I think your overall vision, you would love to be a mother one day.
I know.
That is your ultimate dream.
Yes.
Yes. And your case, I'm bringing up your case because you may be able to help somebody or somebody can hear the story and more advice. You're not able to or there's the possibility of you having a child is harder than easier right now.
Yeah, the odds are all against me.
Okay, so could you just explain what's transpired and what's gone on and how you've obstacled through all this and
yeah, I mean it all goes back
other people
to cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm alive and I'm here, and even Dr. Solomon Chris has been there for a lot of my follow-up, and they tried when I was diagnosed to try hybrid chemo that would protect I remember Daddy even asked, like, is she going to still be able to have kids? Medicine has truly advanced. Now when young girls get diagnosed, there's ways to harvest eggs, there's opportunity, there's resources. Evolution in medicine, that's why it's very important for us to continue to evolve. And unfortunately, I didn't have that opportunity. So I ended up with setback from chemo. I had endometriosis at 18, 17. I had a laparoscope at 18. I've had 4 laparoscopies for endometriosis in order to prevent infertility, essentially. I tried to harvest eggs. Gosh, I don't even know when. Spent a lot of money. And I don't have any eggs that were viable. So I've always been told, oh, you have regular periods, so you can, try to have a kid naturally, but you probably won't because a lot of it's mostly from the chemo. And now I'm 43, I'm way advanced from maternal age. And I remember when I was going to infertility clinics, I went to 2 different ones because one of them was just a complete jerk and basically said, you're in medicine, you know this, all the odds are against you. And I was like, well, thank you. And just as you're in medicine, the odds are against all of us. And I would have expected, like, just some sort of conversation as to, yeah, you are in medicine, but you know that there's hope and there's miracles, and that it's just big to be able to communicate with people, because you don't know how they were going to respond, even if they're a direct personality like I am. So I went to another infertility clinic. They were great. They were resourceful. We did try. They found a small fibroid, which is a benign tumor on your uterus, that said, it's not obstructing. I had all these special tests done because I did not want to have surgery. And they said, you can meet a person and naturally try to become pregnant. And everything did work out. Like, I did meet someone. And then things just kind of got worse in regard to my health. So I started to feel really sick probably, 2 years ago. And I had a uterine fibroid that was growing. And it got to the point where I thought I was having low back pain because I was working out too much, or I thought I was getting COVID or flu, and I was having like a lot of abdominal pain that I was relating to stress. And I had almost like a 5-centimeter mass that was pushing on basically my back and the posterior aspect of my colon.
And at that point, did you have the same feeling when you were a kid, when you were telling yourself you have cancer?
When they had to get an MRI, and when they did all that, I was like, it's fine. It's going to be okay. Like, I got this. If anybody can do it, it's me. But I cried. I always cry a lot in my car, like on my way home from work. After, I try not to cry around everybody else. And I'm like, I got this. But it was reality when the surgeon had said it's going to be at a 4.5-hour surgery. And we have to figure out we have to send it to pathology. And that was last February, and everyone rallied for me, and I had such great support, and I was healthy and recovered from surgery, but I was out for 6 weeks. I couldn't move. I was in bed. It was pretty emotionally taxing. I couldn't do my job. And then you think of the fortunate, like, I have health insurance, I have a job, I have all these resources, but you're still trying to see the light. And then they called and said the pathology showed concerning pathology that would need to be followed. I had a follow-up ultrasound in November. They found another developing possible mass. And Dr. Solomon was there. And then they found necrosis in my hips, which is due from the prednisone. So I've got, hip... It's like, well, if you're not infertile and you got a tumor growing inside of you, now you got a hip problem. So let's see how you deal with that one. So we're following that. And I'm just hopeful and optimistic. I have an MRI next week. And if there is stuff that's I don't have, they said you're not have a ticking time bomb. Thankfully, it was smooth muscle tissue on that pathology. So they're not as concerned that it's going to turn into anything bad. And I'm just starting to settle into the idea that it's going to be okay now more than ever if I don't get to have babies. Because I'd rather be alive. And it kills me a lot to not have them, especially when I see everybody with little babies. So I'm trying to understand that part, and there's a lot of therapy that I'm going through for that. And I'm not the kind of person who sees other kids and their families and I'm gonna feel sorry for myself, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe I'm gonna be this. No, I'm gonna be excited and happy because God will fulfill me if I enjoy other people versus feel like some sort of victim, because it's a pretty damn good life that I have created for myself. I have a good life, but it does suck.
With that perspective, now that you're actually able to hear your story, because you get to tell it, because I don't know if you've been able to tell your story before.
Not this part of it.
Okay.
No.
In each position of your life, when something bad happened, what would you do?
I have a 3-day pity party.
And you rally.
I have give myself 3 days to be sad, pathetic, miserable. And then I say, okay, Samina, it's time to get your shit together, because you are a warrior princess and you have created a phenomenal life for yourself.
Yeah.
And I am loved. I am supported. I have a great family. I have the most incredible friends. And, I have to shout out Shannon. That girl has been my rock for I don't know how many years, and her husband, Dave. And I'm have all these little families, Silmans, you know, the Husterman, like just this unit that keeps me together, and they all have kids, and the Bartholomews, Jill and Allie, like these babies that they've all had that they let me be a part of their lives, and I'm so grateful for that. And now, like, Jen and Stodge let me get to be a part of their kids' life. So as long as I can be the surrogate auntie and real auntie, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, with that, I just want you to see that all that negative stuff in your life, the bad stuff, the cancer, all the things you went through, brought you the best things of your life.
100%, yeah.
So you're going through this right now. Just know on the other side of it, there's something of the best things of your life there.
Yeah, so I hope you and Priscilla bring me babies too.
Silence, because I'm gonna start crying. Oh, damn.
I can
that's
be
a
like
first.
the best godmother to everyone.
The reason why wanted you to speak about that is because I wanted you to actually say it out loud, okay? And I wanted you to say everything you've been through to get through wherever you got to now. And here you are again, same stories coming your way, and at the end of it, you always persevere, and the best things are on the side of it. I don't lose hope. I think you're meant to have a baby, and you have a great mindset of if it doesn't, you have all these other things, but I pray every day. But I want you to just continue to have the perspective of what you said. You're a warrior, things happen, and all those bad things brought you so many good things. And this is a protectant for you right now, and it's not happening right now. But you're getting, every time you've been tested in your life, Samina, the best has come out of it.
Yeah.
So just always remember that, like, oh, there's this obstacle. Well, guess what? The best version of Samina is on this side. And each negative is like 10 blessings forward. So whatever this negative right now, there's 10 blessings right behind it. You just got to keep pushing to that wall. You got to grab the IV. What is it again?
My IV pole?
Got to grab your IV pole and walk. That's your slogan. Got to grab your IV
keep
pole.
on trekking.
Got to grab your IV pole. If you can do that as a kid and defeat cancer, you can do anything. And you talked about, the pediatricians talk about the statistics, right? Look at the statistic of where you are supposed to be at in your life right now. You are not supposed to be doing what you're doing with the shit that's come your way at all. And look at what you're doing.
You just can't give up. But you have to surround yourself with the people who encourage you to not give up, right? It's not, it is, and a lot, you know, a majority of it comes within your soul. And positive mindset, like I've always been I'm not really a negative person. I've always been a positive person. I do have my little pity party and then I move forward. But you have to have light. You have to have positivity. You have to be happy. You know, like there were a few clients at the gym that I ran into. Everyone's like, you're always so happy. And I'm like, that's the only way. You have to lead with light and love. And like a smile goes a long way.
Hell yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I believe, man. Priscilla, when she has Samina. How about this? Samina's gonna have a kid. This is where This is where I'm getting Priscilla to agree on for this one. Samina's gonna have a kid before we have a kid.
Oh, okay.
Priscilla would want that anyways.
Well, that's very sweet.
So that means that's gonna happen very soon.
I mean, that would be one miracle child. So I'll take all the prayers out there.
Samina, you are a fighter. You're a warrior. You're a big sister of all of us. I think the utmost world of you. I'm very, very happy you were able to come tell your story to my followers. I hope to continue to grow. But you have a great story to actually inspire people. And you never... So Samina sometimes thinks that because she's in Denver and we're running the gym in Houston, that she's not a part of the Congo thing and she's not into the fitness thing and she's not into that, which is not the case at all. I'm
pretty fit.
You know, she is. No, yeah, she's super fit. But she just has this tendency to think, I'm not a part of this.
I have serious FOMO.
Yes.
I want to teleport all the time.
All the time. She actually doesn't sit still. But what I want you to understand is you are a part of all of that because of the way you operate and the way you've helped raise all of us. And you're a phenomenal big sister. And I don't call you that much or text you that much, but I try. And I'm saying this because just remember you asked me, why do I do this? It's like therapy. These are things that I wouldn't say to you on a text or a phone call, and this is something you'll be able to have forever. But we all appreciate you, and
Well, thank
you
you.
do a lot for this family. None of us would be where we were at without you.
I appreciate it. We're all a piece to the puzzle, right?
Yeah, and you are a part of it. The supplements, the gym, you're a part of it.
Thank you.
That is Samina Khan, Congo, the warrior, cancer survivor, inspirational. And she's a part of the Congo. She's got her own inspiration in her own little world. And I hope that inspires everybody to continue to fight, press on, never give up, always have faith, and be just a good freaking human and give back. That is who Samina is. So,
Keeping people alive and healthy. That's the goal.
close it out. One more.
The Fulano.
Look at that. You did well. You barely cried.
I cried a lot.
Barely cried. You're a warrior, Samina.
Thank you.
You can do anything. Everybody can do anything. Set your mind to it. All bad things can turn into great things. And you are an example of that. So, Samina, Dwight Manfredi, Congo Subs, Dubs. We need more sponsors.
Cheers.
Cheers. Congo Subs, first the world. Samina Khan, part of the Congo. Oldest sister, thank you for raising us. And what's the tequila called?
Don Fulano.
Don Fulano. We need more tequila. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
I don't know if I can say that. I will.
Suck it!
Turn my headphones up. Louder.